So after that front passed, the weather was actually really nice all of yesterday. And then I woke up this morning to see that that the weather report was calling for more rain. So I was trying to look up what happened. And it looks like now we're actually pretty close to the low pressure center that was moving our way and that was kind of causing that front to swirl in yesterday. But now the actual low pressure is coming in and things look a little bit different. So this morning I rode my bike down around Oceanside Harbor, and right now I'm getting just a really cool view of all this weather coming in that's associated with that mid-latitude cyclone, with that low pressure center coming our way. So we have some really big cumulonimbus storm clouds kind of surrounding me right now. You can actually see rain falling from these clouds in all directions. It's starting to sprinkle on me a little bit right now. But what's interesting is that it's quite a bit different from the weather that we saw yesterday, which was these kind of less violent lower clouds that brought a good amount of rain. But here it's just like really unstable and patchy. And you have a kind of a cumulonimbus cloud behind me going up towards Palomar Mountain. A bunch of cumulus clouds associated with that. It's pretty crazy. But then looking the other way, out to sea we have a whole bunch of big clouds with rain coming down too. So pretty interesting, even though right here I'm almost in the sun, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I'm going to show a couple videos to go along with this. And yeah, enjoy. Well, it's starting to sprinkle a little bit right here, and these clouds are just getting closer and closer, so I'm thinking I better get home since I rode my bike, but I kind of expect at this point to get dumped on along the way, so we'll see what happens, and I'll include a video of me getting drenching wet if that's what actually ends up happening. There's one more way of looking at this whole thing, the interconnection between these two different rain events and the storm that caused them, that I think is really helpful to look at. This is one of my favorite web pages, earth.nullschools, and it uses global circulation models to show the current situation on the ground or at different levels in the atmosphere for different atmospheric variables. So in this case, we're looking at wind at the surface, and what we see right here is wind at the surface at 6 a.m. yesterday on Wednesday, the 29th of March. These are the conditions that I started out talking about and showed that first surface map for. But for that surface map, we just looked at the far southwest around here. So San Diego's right about here, right? LA's here. And if you think back to that last map, I said there's a front kind of just coming down on LA at that point. And you can see this nick in those winds show where this front is, because winds also change when a front passes. So where before the front, there's kind of southwesterly winds here. After the front, we usually get northwesterly winds. That's what we typically see. So that's the front we saw yesterday that brought that rain. But this front is associated with what's called a mid-latitude cyclone. These are large, low-pressure systems, and they always rotate in the counterclockwise direction in the northern hemisphere. This is a really strong one up here. You can see wind spinning really, really quickly around this central feature, which would be a low-pressure center. There's going to be low pressure in the middle, and that's bringing wind into the center when you get the influence of the Coriolis force, the pressure gradient force, and frictional forces. You end up with this rotational pattern like this. So the front that we see is related to this mid-latitude cyclone system overall, because that wind is pushing, as it spins around this low, it's drawing in that colder air from further up north, closer to Alaska, and bringing that down to Southern California right here, where that cold front is pushing this relatively warmer air out of the way. But let's see how that relates to what happened today. when I showed those videos of me at the beach in Oceanside, that's more related to the arrival of the actual mid-latitude cyclone low pressure center itself, rather than this front that's preceding the mid-latitude cyclone. So I'm going to click through hour by hour from 6 a.m. yesterday until now. It's about 3 p.m. and we're going to see how these different things develop. So we're going to see the front move like we did when looking at those surface maps, and we'll see the mid-latitude cyclone move. So just hour by hour. So 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10, 11, 11:30, well, 12. But remember, just thinking back to those graphs, 11:30 is about when I said that the front passed us in San Diego. And here you can still kind of see that linear feature right here. Passing, that's San Diego itself right there. So that means by noon, it's 12 o'clock local time, it would have already passed us up in Oceanside. So that looks pretty accurate. But what happened during that time? That low pressure center of the mid-latitude cyclone came way down from southern Oregon, or like the border maybe with California, into off the coast of California itself. So this is San Francisco Bay. It's moving pretty far south. That was noon yesterday, so let's see what happens. This front already passed us. We ended up getting some nice weather yesterday afternoon, so that's no longer really of interest. But remember, it's not the end of the rain. It's not the end of the influence of the system. So this is, let's see, 5 o'clock, 6, 7 o'clock local time. This is just, the course of one day. That front is way past us now. That's why we're getting, okay weather in the afternoon yesterday here in San Diego. But that low pressure center has moved all the way down south of San Francisco now. So just in a day, it moved hundreds of miles, which is, a pretty fast moving system. If we keep going through the night, it's moving a little more slowly now. But eventually 5, 6, 7, 8 a.m. this morning, 9 a.m. this morning, you can see that it's weakened quite a bit, but we still have this low pressure center right here. So it's still a cyclone. It's kind of becoming just the remnants of a cyclone at this point because it's gotten a lot weaker. But that's at 10 o'clock, continues to move. And so what we're really getting is no longer that cold front, but we're getting the convergent air swinging around towards this low, because remember, air goes from high to low. It's drawn into that low pressure center. When it's drawn into the low, it rises, and that results in these unstable conditions and condensation and rain and all that. And that's what we saw this morning, is the rain and cumulonimbus clouds related to this uplift of air at the central low pressure of this kind of, weakening mid-latitude cyclone. Still dry so far.